Emma was playing in the front yard when the stranger next door called out to her, "Be careful on that swing, Emma. You don't want to fall again like last time." I was watching from the window, coffee in hand, when I heard it. The stranger, Marcus, though I didn't know his name yet, was standing on his porch. He'd moved in 3 days ago. We'd exchanged polite waves but never spoken, and he'd just called my daughter by her name. I went outside immediately. "Excuse me?" He smiled, friendly. "Ordinary. Just warning her about the swing. The chain's a bit loose on the left side, wouldn't want another scraped knee." Emma had scraped her knee on that swing 2 weeks ago, before this man moved in, before we'd ever seen him. "How do you know my daughter's name?" "Oh, I'm sorry. I should have introduced myself properly. I'm Marcus." He extended his hand over the fence. I didn't shake it. "You called her Emma. How do you know her name?" "Did I? I suppose I must have heard you calling her. Sound carries, you know." He gestured vaguely at the space between our houses. "But I hadn't called Emma by name while outside, not since he'd moved in. I was sure of it." "Emma, come inside," I said. "But Daddy, I'm playing." "Now." She could hear the edge in my voice. She climbed off the swing and ran to me. As she passed, Marcus smiled at her. "See you later, Emma Grace." My blood went cold. Emma Grace. Her full name. Her middle name that we rarely used. That wasn't on our mailbox. That wouldn't carry over a fence. "How do you know her middle name?" But Marcus was already walking back into his house, whistling, like he hadn't just revealed impossible knowledge, like he hadn't just proven he knew more about my daughter than a stranger should. That was Monday. By Wednesday I'd learned that Marcus knew everything: her favorite food, mac and cheese with the dinosaur shapes, her stuffed animal's name, Mr. Buttons, her nightmares, the dark closet with something inside, her secret hiding spot in the backyard under the deck where she kept her treasures. Things no one outside our family should know. Things Emma had never told anyone. Things I'd never said aloud where anyone could hear. Marcus knew them all, and he kept proving it. Small comments, casual observations, always accurate, always impossible. "How does Mr. Buttons feel today, Emma? Still missing his left eye? Did you find the robin's egg you hid under the deck, the blue one? Bad dream about the closet again? You should leave the nightlight on." Every statement correct, every detail perfect. And Emma started responding to him, started trusting him, started treating him like he'd known her for years instead of days. And I realized the stranger next door didn't just know my daughter's name. He knew everything about her, her past, her present, maybe even her future. The question was how, and the answer terrified me more than anything I could imagine. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave your like, because the ending of this story will shake you in ways you never imagined. And tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this story? Now let's begin. I started documenting everything Marcus said to or about Emma. Every detail he shouldn't know, every impossible piece of information. By the end of the first week, my list had 37 entries. Knows Emma's full name, Emma Grace Harrison. Knows about scraped knee before he moved in. Knows Mr. Buttons is missing left eye. Knows Emma's hiding spot under deck. Knows her nightmare about closet. Knows favorite food, dino mac and cheese. Knows she's afraid of thunderstorms. Knows she can't whistle yet. Mentioned she's still practicing. Knows her best friend's name, Sophia. Knows Emma failed spelling test last month. The list went on and on. Details ranging from mundane to deeply personal, things that weren't on social media, things Emma hadn't told her teachers, things only family would know. I confronted him on day 8. "We need to talk." "About Emma." Marcus was watering his garden. He didn't look up. "What about her?" "You know too much about my daughter. I want to know how." "I pay attention, observe, listen. You'd be surprised what you can learn. No one observes that their neighbor's daughter is afraid of thunderstorms. No one listens their way into knowing a stuffed animal's name." He finally looked at me, those eyes, dark, deep, knowing. "Maybe I'm just very observant. Or maybe you're stalking my family. Maybe I should call the police. And tell them what? That your neighbor makes accurate observations about your daughter. That's not a crime, Mr. Harrison. How do you know my name? I never told you. It's on your mailbox. James Harrison, see? Simple observation. But my first name wasn't on the mailbox, just J. Harrison. You're lying. And I want you to stay away from my daughter. Don't talk to her. Don't look at her. Don't acknowledge her existence. Marcus turned off his hose. I can't do that. Why not? Because I'm here to protect her, and I can't protect her if I'm not watching. Protect her from what? From what's coming. 3 weeks from now. Thursday, 3:47 p.m. She'll need me. My hands clenched into fists. Are you threatening my daughter? I'm warning you, something's going to happen. I'm trying to prevent it. But I can't do that if you keep getting in my way. Get off my property. Stay away from Emma, or I will call the police. I went inside and locked every door, every window, drew every curtain. That night I installed cameras around the house, motion sensors, alarms. If Marcus came near Emma, I'd know. But over the next week, the cameras showed nothing. Marcus stayed in his house, kept to himself, didn't even look our direction. Yet he still knew things, impossible things. On day 12, Emma came home from school crying. She'd gotten into a fight with Sophia, her best friend. Something about a borrowed toy that got broken. That evening, Marcus was on his porch when we arrived home. He looked at Emma with sympathy. Friendships are hard, Emma Grace. But Sophia will forgive you by tomorrow. She's your best friend for a reason. Emma stopped crying, looked at him with hope. Really? Really. She's already sorry. She just doesn't know how to say it yet. But tomorrow she'll bring you something, a peace offering. You'll see. I pulled Emma inside before she could respond. But the next day, Sophia brought Emma a cupcake she'd baked with her mother, apologized. They made up. Marcus had been right, again. On day 15, I was looking for my car keys, tore the house apart searching. Marcus was outside trimming his hedges when I came out to check my car. They're in Emma's backpack, he called over. She was playing with them yesterday, pretending to drive. Check the front pocket. I wanted to ignore him, but I checked. The keys were exactly where he said they'd be. How did he know that? He hadn't been in our house, hadn't been watching through windows. The cameras would have caught him. On day 17, Emma woke up with a fever. 101.3 degrees. I was about to call her school when Marcus knocked on our door. He handed me a bottle of children's fever reducer. She'll need this. The fever will break by 2 p.m. She'll be fine for school tomorrow. How did you know she's sick? I heard her coughing last night through the walls. Houses this close, you can hear everything. But our houses weren't that close, and Emma's bedroom was on the opposite side, away from his house. The fever broke at 1:47 p.m. Close enough to his prediction to be unsettling. Every day brought new impossible knowledge, new accurate predictions, new proof that Marcus knew things he shouldn't, and Emma was starting to trust him more than me. When she had questions, she'd look toward his house. When she was scared, she'd ask what Marcus would say. When I tried to keep her away from him, she'd ask why I didn't like the nice man next door. I was losing my daughter to a stranger who knew her better than I did. I hired a private investigator to research Marcus Chen. Real name, background, criminal record, anything. The investigator came back with nothing. The man living next door doesn't exist, at least not legally. No Marcus Chen matching his description has a driver's license in this state. No social security number on file. No employment records. No previous addresses. He's a ghost. That's impossible. He bought the house. There are records. The house was purchased by a shell company. Cash transaction. No mortgage, no paper trail leading to an actual person. Whoever he is, he's very good at not existing on paper. I showed the investigator my list of things Marcus knew about Emma. What about surveillance? Could he have cameras in our house? I swept your house yesterday. No cameras, no listening devices, no bugs. Whatever he knows, he's not getting it electronically. Then how? The investigator looked uncomfortable. Mr. Harrison, in my 20 years doing this work, I've seen stalkers. I've seen obsessive people. I've seen criminals who study their targets. but I've never seen anyone with this level of detailed, accurate knowledge without some form of access. Either he's somehow watching you in ways we can't detect, or what? Or he has some other way of knowing, something I can't explain. I fired him, not because he was wrong, but because he was right. There was no rational explanation for Marcus's knowledge, which meant the explanation was irrational, impossible, supernatural. I started researching psychic phenomena, remote viewing, clairvoyance, mind reading, all the things I'd dismissed as nonsense my entire life. But what else could explain someone who knew Emma's nightmares, who predicted her friend would apologize, who knew where my keys were hidden? I found online forums for people who claimed to have encountered psychics. Read stories about people who could see the future, read minds, know impossible things. Most of it was obviously fake, charlatans and desperate people. But some stories, some were too detailed, too specific, too much like what I was experiencing. And in those stories, the psychics weren't always benevolent. Sometimes they used their knowledge to manipulate, to control, to harm. What if Marcus was using his knowledge of Emma for something terrible? What if his claim to be protecting her was a lie? I had to know, and there was only one way to find out. On day 20, I went to Marcus's house with a plan. I'd demand answers, real answers. And if he refused, I'd make him leave. Restraining order, police involvement, whatever it took. He answered the door before I knocked. I wondered when you'd come back. 3 weeks of surveillance and investigation must be exhausting. You knew I hired an investigator. Of course, Marcus helped you search when you couldn't find him in any databases, made you question reality, made you desperate enough to confront me again. He stepped aside. Come in, I'll answer your questions. I hesitated. Going into his house felt dangerous, but I needed answers more than I needed safety. Inside, his house was sparse, minimal furniture, but one wall was covered in photographs, hundreds of them, all of Emma. Emma playing in our yard, Emma at school, Emma sleeping in her bed. Photos from angles that should have been impossible, dates going back years, before Marcus moved in, before he existed. What the fuck is this? I lunged at him, but he stepped aside easily. Sit down, Mr. Harrison. Look closer at the photos. I forced myself to look, really look, and I realized something was wrong with them. The Emma in the photos was different ages, different years. But the backgrounds were wrong, the dates were wrong. One photo showed Emma at age 3, but she was wearing the dress she'd worn last week, at age 8. Another showed her at 7. But the background was our current house. We'd only lived here for 2 years. These are photoshopped, faked. You're insane. They're not from your timeline, Marcus said quietly. They're from mine, from the reality I came from, where Emma is my daughter, where you don't exist, where I've raised her for 8 years. I stared at him. That's insane. Is it? More insane than me knowing everything about her? More insane than me predicting the future? More insane than me not existing in any database? He sat down across from me. I'm from a parallel reality, Mr. Harrison, one where I married your wife, where we had Emma, where you were never born. That's not possible. And yet here I am. So I crossed over 3 weeks ago, to this timeline to warn you, to protect Emma from what's coming. Why should I believe any of this? Because in 3 days, on Thursday at 3:47 p.m., someone is going to try to kidnap Emma, a man in a blue van. He'll approach her after school, tell her I sent him, use her full name to gain her trust. In my timeline, he succeeded. Emma was taken. We never found her. My blood went ice cold. You're lying. I spent 5 years searching for her. 5 years of hell. And then I discovered how to cross timelines, how to jump to a reality where she still existed, where she was still alive. This reality, yours. And I came here to save her, to prevent what happened in my world from happening in yours. This is insane. Parallel universes don't exist, don't they? Then explain how I know everything about Emma, every detail of her life, her memories, her dreams, her fears. I know them because I lived them, in another world, another life. I'm her father, Mr. Harrison, just not in this timeline. I wanted to punch him, wanted to throw him out, call the police. But something in his eyes stopped me. Desperate conviction, grief, love. He believed what he was saying, truly believed it. And if he was right, if someone was going to try to take Emma in 3 days... "Prove it," I said. "Prove you're from another timeline." Marcus led me to his basement. The walls were covered in equations, diagrams, scientific notation I couldn't begin to understand. I was a quantum physicist in my timeline, specialized in multiverse theory. After Emma was taken, I became obsessed, spent every waking moment trying to find a way to reach another reality, to find a world where she was still alive. He showed me a device, looked like something from a science fiction movie. Wires, circuits, a metal frame. This is what brought me here, a quantum tunneling device. It tears a hole between adjacent timelines and allows physical transfer. One-way trip. Once you cross, you can never go back. This is ridiculous. I'm calling. In Emma's room, hidden under her mattress on the left side, you'll find a drawing. She made it 3 days ago. It's of our family. You, your wife, and her, but there's a fourth figure. A man she labeled friend. That's me. She's been drawing me into your family because subconsciously she remembers. Some part of her knows I'm her father, from another life. I ran upstairs to Emma's room, lifted the mattress. The drawing was there, just as he described. 4 stick figures. Mum, Dad, Emma, and a fourth labeled friend in her childish handwriting. I'd never seen this drawing before. Marcus couldn't have planted it. I'd been watching his house through cameras for weeks. I came back downstairs, holding the drawing. This doesn't prove anything. You could have seen her draw it through a window. You're right. So let me prove it another way. In my timeline, Emma had an imaginary friend when she was 4, named Whisper. She talked to Whisper every night before bed, told Whisper secrets she wouldn't tell anyone else. You stopped her from talking to Whisper when she was 5, told her she was too old for imaginary friends. She cried for a week. Emma never had an imaginary friend. In this timeline, no, because you're not her father in my world. Your wife is different, gentler. She let Emma keep Whisper longer, but the Emma here has the same predisposition, the same psychological patterns. If you ask her, tonight, before bed, if she ever talks to someone no one else can see, she'll tell you about Whisper. Because Whisper exists across timelines, a constant in Emma's life, regardless of who her father is. You're insane. Then it costs you nothing to ask. Tonight, before bed. Ask Emma if she has a friend no one else can see. Ask her what she calls that friend. I left, went home, tried to pretend this was normal, that Marcus was just a delusional stalker who'd gotten lucky with some observations. But that night, when I tucked Emma into bed, I asked, "Emma, do you have a friend that Mommy and I can't see? Someone you talk to sometimes?" She looked at me with wide eyes, scared she was in trouble. Then quietly, "Sometimes. When I'm scared." "What do you call this friend?" "Whisper, because she's very quiet, only I can hear her." I went back to Marcus that night, after Emma was asleep, after my wife had gone to bed, after I'd spent 2 hours staring at the ceiling, trying to process what was happening. "You're really from another timeline?" "Yes." "And in your world, you're Emma's father?" "Yes." "And someone kidnapped her, and you never found her?" "Yes." His voice broke on that word. "She was 6. We searched for 5 years. Every lead, every tip, every possible location, nothing. She just vanished. And I couldn't save her, couldn't protect her, failed her in every way a father can fail." "So you built a machine to cross timelines, to find a version of her who was still alive." "I crossed 47 timelines before I found this one. 47 versions of Emma. Some were already dead, some were teenagers, some were babies, some never existed at all. But this one, this Emma, is 8, the same age my Emma would be, if she'd lived. And you came here to save her, from the man in the blue van. I came here to be her father again, even if she doesn't know me, even if I'm just the stranger next door. I needed to see her safe, happy, alive. And when I learned that the same event happens in this timeline, the kidnapping attempt, I knew I had to stay, had to protect her. How do you know it happens in this timeline?" Because it happens in most timelines. It's a convergence point, a high-probability event. The man in the blue van, his name is Richard Cole, he targets children across multiple realities. I don't know how or why, but in nearly every timeline I've observed, he attempts to take Emma on the same day, same time, same method. Then we call the police, warn them, have them arrest him before he can try. On what grounds? He hasn't committed a crime yet in this timeline, and the police won't believe quantum physics and parallel realities, but I will be there. Thursday, 3:47 p.m. outside her school, and I will stop him. We'll stop him, both of us. Marcus looked at me with something like gratitude. You believe me. I don't know what I believe, but I know you love Emma. I can see it. And whether you're from another timeline or just insane, you're right about one thing. We need to protect her. So on Thursday, we'll be there, together. For the first time since he'd moved in, Marcus smiled. A real smile. Not the knowing, unsettling one. A father's smile. Thank you. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. I didn't let Emma out of my sight. Drove her to school, picked her up, watched her play, checked on her every hour through the night. Marcus did the same. I'd see him in his window, watching our house, keeping vigil. On Wednesday night, he came over with a photograph. Different from the others. This one showed the kidnapper, Richard Cole. Mid-40s, average build, forgettable face. The kind of person you'd never notice in a crowd. This is what he looks like, blue van. License plate varies by timeline, so I can't help with that. But the van is always the same make and model. Ford Transit, 2015, dark blue. Dent in the rear bumper on the driver's side. How does he approach? He parks near the school. Waits until Emma is walking to the parent pickup area. Calls her by name. Says either her father sent him or her mother is hurt and he's here to take her to the hospital. Uses her full name, Emma Grace, to establish trust. By the time she realizes something is wrong, he has her in the van. Not this time. Not this time, Marcus agreed. Thursday morning arrived. I kissed Emma goodbye, told her I loved her, drove her to school and watched her go inside. Then Marcus and I took up positions around the school. I parked in the parent pickup area. Marcus positioned himself on the street where he could see all approaches. We had walkie-talkies, stayed in constant communication. 3:00 p.m. School let out. 3:15 p.m. Students started emerging. 3:30 p.m. Emma came out with her class. I waved. She saw me and waved back. 3:40 p.m. Emma was walking toward my car. Everything was normal. 3:45 p.m. Marcus's voice crackled over the walkie-talkie. Blue van, approaching from the east. Matching description. Dent on rear bumper. It's him. My heart hammered. I see him. He's slowing down. The van pulled up near Emma. The driver leaned out. I couldn't hear what he said, but Emma stopped. Looked confused. Started walking toward the van. I was out of my car in seconds. Running. Emma, get away from that van. She turned. Saw me running. Looked frightened. The van driver saw me coming. Hesitated. Made a decision. Gunned the engine and peeled out. I reached Emma. Pulled her into my arms. Are you okay? What did he say to you? He knew my name. He said Daddy sent him, that you were in an accident, that I should come with him. Never get in a car with anyone I haven't told you about. Never, promise me. I promise, Daddy. I'm sorry, I was scared. It's okay, you're safe. That's all that matters. Marcus appeared beside us, breathing hard. He'd chased the van on foot, but lost it. Did you get the plate? Partially. I called 911, gave them a description. They're looking for him. Marcus looked at Emma. Really looked at her, like he was memorizing her face. You're safe now, Emma Grace. He won't try again. Not today. Emma looked at him curiously. How did you know he'd be here? I just had a feeling. Your dad and I both did. We wanted to make sure you were safe. Thank you, Mr. Marcus. She hugged him, spontaneously, naturally, like she'd known him her whole life. And I saw the tears in Marcus's eyes as he hugged her back. The daughter he'd lost, the daughter he'd crossed realities to save, safe in his arms again, even if she didn't know who he really was. The police caught Richard Cole that evening, found him 2 towns over. The van was full of children's toys, candy, rope, zip ties, everything you'd need for a kidnapping. They arrested him, searched his home, found evidence of planning, lists of children's names, school schedules. Emma's name was on one of the lists. The detective told us we were lucky. Another few seconds and she'd have been in that van. We might never have found her, but it wasn't luck. It was Marcus, a man from another timeline who'd loved his daughter so much, he'd torn a hole in reality to save her. After the police left, I invited Marcus over. We sat on my porch while Emma played inside. "What happens now?" I asked. "I stay, keep watching, make sure no other threats emerge. As the stranger next door, what else can I be? I'm not her father in this world. You are. I'm just the guardian in the shadows, the man who knows her better than anyone, the one who'll always protect her. She deserves to know the truth, who you really are. Maybe someday when she's older, when she can understand, but for now, let her have a normal life with her real father, you. You're her real father too, just from another world." In my world, I failed her. Let her be taken. Couldn't save her. Here you succeeded. You protected her. That makes you the better father. I only succeeded because you warned me, because you were there. You saved her, Marcus, in this timeline and in yours. Don't forget that. Over the following weeks, things settled into a new normal. Marcus remained next door, still watched over Emma, still knew impossible things about her. But now I understood why. And Emma grew closer to him, would visit his house, help him garden, listen to his stories. Stories that were really memories from another life she'd lived. She never questioned why he knew her so well. Children accept things adults can't. To her, Marcus was just a friend, a good neighbor, someone who cared about her. She didn't need to know he was her father from another world, not yet. Maybe not ever. 6 months after the kidnapping attempt, Marcus collapsed. I found him in his yard, unconscious, rushed him to the hospital. The doctors ran tests, found something impossible. His cellular structure is breaking down, the doctor explained. On a molecular level, like his body is, I don't know how to describe it. Phasing out? It's like he doesn't fully exist here. When Marcus woke up, I demanded answers. What's happening to you? The quantum tunneling has a price. You can cross timelines, but you can't stay indefinitely. The universe corrects itself, pushes out what doesn't belong. I knew when I came here that I'd have maybe 2 years, 3 at most. Then my body would destabilize. You're dying? I'm fading, returning to my original timeline, or maybe just ceasing to exist altogether. The physics aren't clear. How long? 6 months. Maybe a year. It's accelerating faster than I projected. I thought of Emma, of the bond she'd formed with Marcus, of the loss she'd face when he disappeared. Does she need to know? No. Let her remember me as the nice neighbor who moved away, not as the dying man from another reality. She's already lost me once, she doesn't need to lose me again. But Emma knew something was wrong. Children always know. She started spending more time with Marcus, drawing pictures for him, making him cookies, like she was trying to hold on to him. One day she asked me, "Why does Mr. Marcus look sad sometimes when he looks at me?" "I think he lost someone very important to him, someone who looked like you." "Like a daughter?" "Yes, exactly like a daughter." "Is that why he's so nice to me? Because I remind him of her?" "I think so." She thought about that. Then, "I'm glad I can make him happy, even if it's just a little bit." Kids understand more than we give them credit for. Marcus lasted 11 months, longer than he'd expected, long enough to see Emma's 9th birthday, long enough to know she was safe, happy, loved. On his last day, he called me over, could barely move, fading in and out, literally. I could see through him sometimes, like he was already half gone. "Take care of her," he whispered. "Both of them, your Emma and mine. They're the same soul, you know, across all timelines, different lives, same spirit. Protect that spirit. I will, I promise. And tell her, Bats, when she's older, tell her that somewhere in another world, she had a father who loved her so much he crossed the universe to save her. Tell her she was worth everything, worth breaking reality itself. I'll tell her. Thank you for letting me be her father, even if just for a little while, even from next door. He faded completely at 3:47 p.m. The same time Richard Cole had tried to take Emma, the same time Marcus had saved her. Like reality had a sense of poetry. Emma cried when I told her Marcus had moved away. I let her believe that, for now, but on her 16th birthday I gave her a letter. Marcus had written it before he died, for her to read when she was old enough to understand. She opened it with trembling hands, read it 3 times, then looked at me with tears streaming down her face. Is this real? Was he really from another timeline, where you were his daughter, where he loved you so much he tore a hole in reality to save you, and he knew everything about me because he'd raised me, in another life? Yes. She looked at the photos Marcus had left, the ones from his timeline, her at different ages in different circumstances, all loved, all cherished. I wish I'd known. I wish I could have said goodbye properly. You did. Every moment you spent with him, every smile you gave him, every time you called him your friend, that was goodbye. He knew. She kept the letter, the photos, the proof that somewhere in the infinite multiverse, she'd had another father, one who'd loved her enough to die in a strange timeline just to keep her safe. And sometimes, when she was scared or sad or facing something difficult, she'd look at those photos and remember she was worth breaking reality for, worth crossing universes for, worth everything. The stranger next door had called her by her name, had known everything about her, had loved her from another life. And even though he was gone, that love remained, echoing across timelines, protecting her still. Emma is 24 now, graduated college, started her own life. And yesterday, she called me with impossible news. Dad, something strange happened. I met someone. At the quantum physics conference, a researcher who's been studying multiverse theory. My blood went cold. Emma. She showed me her equations, her research. And Dad, it's real, all of it. Parallel timelines, quantum tunneling. Everything Marcus wrote in that letter. It's all scientifically possible. Why are you telling me this? Because I want to find him. I want to cross over, find the timeline where I was his daughter, where he still exists, where I can tell him thank you. Tell him I understand now, tell him I love him too. Emma, no, he left this timeline because he was dying, fading. You can't. The researcher thinks she can stabilize the crossing, make it safe. 2-way travel. I could visit, come back. Actually meet the father who loved me enough to die for me. And if it doesn't work? If you get trapped, if you fade like he did? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, he risked everything for me. The least I can do is try to find him, to tell him it mattered, that he saved me in more ways than one. I wanted to say no, wanted to forbid it, but she was an adult now, and I understood better than anyone the pull of a parent's love across timelines. If you do this, I said carefully, you take every precaution. You have a way back. You don't stay longer than a few hours. Promise me. I promise. And Emma, when you find him, tell him I kept my promise. Tell him she grew up safe, happy, loved. Tell him thank you. From me. I will, Dad. 3 months later, Emma crossed over, used the researcher's stabilized quantum tunneling device, jumped to a timeline adjacent to ours, one where Marcus Chen had never left, where he'd never crossed over to save his daughter. She was gone for 6 hours, the longest 6 hours of my life. When she came back, she was crying, but smiling too. I found him, Dad. He's alive there, older, still grieving the daughter he lost. And I told him everything about this timeline, about how he crossed over, about how he saved me. What did he say? He said he wished he'd thought of it, that if he'd known it was possible, he would have done it in a heartbeat, would have crossed 1,000 timelines to find me, and then he hugged me. And I got to hug my other father, got to tell him I love him, got to say the goodbye I never got to say. Did you tell him about this timeline? About me? I told him you're the best father I could have asked for, that he chose well when he decided to protect this version of me, that I'm grateful to both of you. My two dads across two realities. She showed me a photo. Marcus in his world, arm around Emma, both smiling. He looked younger than I remembered, healthier, not fading. I'm going back, Emma said, once a month, to visit, to have a relationship with both of my fathers. Is that okay? How could I say no? How could I deny her the chance to know the man who'd loved her across universes? It's okay. Just promise you'll always come back. Always. This is my home. You're my dad. But he's my dad too. I'm lucky enough to have both. Now Emma lives between worlds, splits her time between timelines, has relationships with both her fathers. It's complicated, it's unprecedented, it's beautiful, and sometimes, when I'm sitting on my porch, I swear I can feel Marcus watching from somewhere beyond. The stranger next door who knew my daughter's name because he'd given it to her in another life. He's not here anymore, but he's not gone either. He's there, in another timeline, where Emma visits him, where she calls him Dad too, where the love he crossed universes to preserve continues to grow. The stranger next door called my daughter by her name, and in doing so, he gave her something few people ever get, the knowledge that somewhere in the infinite multiverse, she is loved unconditionally, protected fiercely, worth everything. And isn't that what every father wants for their child? To be loved across universes, protected across realities, known completely. Marcus gave her that, gave us both that. And for that I'll be grateful across every timeline, every version of reality, every possible world.